Hello and welcome to Think Watercolour. Today's demonstration is all about using reference photos in a more creative way. So rather than simply copying a photo, this is a way to take some of the detail and then reinterpreting it in a different setting. This is a photo of a boat that I took at low tide on a Cornish beach last summer. I like the way the shadows helped to define the boat, but the background was less interesting. So let me show you how to reinterpret this picture in a different setting with this quick sketch. I've sketched a simple background of sea and sky and placed the boat on an empty beach. I'm starting with the sky using a mixture of cobalt and cerulean blue. For the beach, I'm mixing up some raw sienna, very weak mix for the initial wash. Just being careful going around the boat, but going over the shadow area. So this is, as I said, this is the initial wash for the beach. It's a very light mix and it'll dry much lighter. I've let all that dry and I'm now painting the sea using a mixture of Windsor blue with a tiny amount of sap green, just to green the sea a little bit. Keeping it simple, leaving a few gaps for to indicate some waves coming into the shoreline. My aim with this quick sketch is just to show a bright sunny day at the beach with this boat as the main feature. While the paint's still wet, just darkening the horizon line a little bit in a few areas. Just adding some water to the boat and then dropping in some very light raw sienna. And this is for the shadow. This is a mixture of imperial purple and cobalt blue. And I'll probably darken this a little bit later, but I'm just getting the initial wash for the shadow in. And I've simplified the boat. I've taken out the rear mast and just had the foremast in and a few of the ropes, the guy ropes, just keeping it simple. While the shadow area is still wet, just dropping in a little bit more colour. Just indicating the shadows of the ropes with the same shadow colour as I've used on the boat. And I'm going to do the underpainting on the mast with the same colour. And then I'm going to let all this dry fully before I continue. Okay, that's now all dried, and I'm just using a slightly darker version of the shadow colour. It's a stronger mix, just to indicate the shadows on the planks of the boat. It's a clinker built boat, so these are overlapping planks. Not being too pedantic about it. It's only a quick sketch at the end of the day, but it'd be nice to get it reasonably correct. Again, as I said earlier, I was going to darken these shadows. I'm just doing that now, and I'll probably darken them a bit more as the painting goes on. It's always the difficult part, getting the tonal values right when you're painting shadows, and sometimes I get it wrong and have to go over them. Sometimes I get it right first try, but in this case it's drying very light. So, and I should know that imperial purple has a tendency to dry much lighter than it looks on the page when you paint it. just darkening the left side of the mast with a little bit of neutral tint added to that shadow mix, just to create the roundness of the mast. This is a pulley block hanging off the side of the boat, and it adds a little sparkle of bright colour to the painting. And this is I've started with some lemon yellow and just added a touch of pyrrole orange to the mix for the darker areas, and just adding a little bit of the shadow colour as well. Just while it's wet, let it all blend together. It creates the feeling that the pulley block is a solid object. I'm just using the same shadow colour on the boat fender on the other side of the boat, just to create depth again. Just blending it into the brighter side where the sun's hitting it. Just using that darker shadow mix with the neutral tint just for the lining on the top of the hull. Again, not being too fussy, but trying to get it right. And once you start putting these darker colours in, it really brings the boat to life, adds depth to it. Again, the shadows are still too light. I'm just darkening some of those lines. For the ropes, I'm just using Van Dyke Brown with a touch of raw sienna mixed in, just to lighten it a little bit, but it's just to indicate the ropes. So once you start putting these details in, the picture starts to come together. I'm just using the side of a brush just to pick up the texture of the paper. This is 300 gram Saunders Waterford rough paper, by the way, and it's got a nice texture to it. And if you don't have too much water in your brush, just use a light touch just to pick up the texture of the paper, just to indicate some dips and marks in the sand. And as I paint the area nearest to the viewer's eye, make things a little bit bigger and darker. Just adds a bit of contrast and adds depth to the painting. You know, footprints and a few indentations in the sand. But as you get further away, it just blurs into one colour towards the seashore. Again, not being too pedantic and fussy, just adding a little bit more of the raw sienna there. And just with a little bit of jadeite green, just indicating some seaweed hanging down off these ropes where they've been lying in the on the seabed when the tide's in. As I said earlier, I'm still not happy with this this shadow on the boat, so I'm just darkening it again. It's a great thing about watercolour, you can darken things very easily. It's much harder to lighten them, but it can be done. That just helps to ground the boat more onto the sand. And just around the boat, a few footprints, quite small as they're further away from us. And as I paint areas closer to us, I'll make them bigger. It all adds scale to the painting. A few shadows around footprints and indentations in the sand. Again, I've kept the colours very simple in this painting, just to create harmony. The only real spot of colour is that yellow pulley, and it just adds to the painting, I think. Again, just using the texture of the paper a little bit, scumbling with my finger. Just softening that edge on that shadow on the right hand side of the boat. It dried a little bit hard, so just with some clean water, blending it all in. And I think I'm pretty much done. I hope you found this quick sketch demonstration useful. With a little bit of thought and imagination, you can take an image like the boat and place it in a new setting. As you can see, I've placed the boat slightly to the left of the painting, and the pulley is situated roughly on the line of where the sea meets the sand, which is nearly a third of the way down the page, and adds to the composition. And although the boat's quite high in the painting, it's not centered, so with it being off center, it adds again to the composition. So do give this sort of thing a try. Take a reference photo and try and reimagine it in a different setting. I hope you found this useful. If you did, do give it a like. It always helps with YouTube. Do subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and hit the notification bell for future videos. And once more, thanks for watching.